Hello, this is group number 9, Jody Smith and Catherine Nordman speaking. We have chosen to evaluate the United States, Japan, and Russia. Today in this presentation, we will be covering the population of the US, Russia, and Japan. We will be covering the GDP, or Gross Domestic Product, which is the total value of goods produced and services provided in a country during 1 year. We'll be covering the foreign direct investment, which is when a company or business person owns another company in a different country. In other words, this is an investment made by a company or individual in one country in the business interest of another country. We will cover the inflation rate, which is a measurement of inflation or the rate of increase of a price index. We will cover the corruption, which is the crime of giving or receiving money, gifts, a better job, etc., in exchange for doing something dishonest or illegal. The corruption scale ranges from 0 to 100, with 0 being very corrupt to 100 being not corrupt at all. We will also cover economic freedom, which is the ability of people in a society to take economic actions. The countries are ranked from top to bottom in reference to economic freedom. The United States has a population of 323.3 million people. Approximately 15.1% of people are below the poverty line, and they have an unemployment rate of 4.9%. The GDP for the US is $18.6 trillion, with a 2.4% growth, a 2.1% 5-year compounding annual growth, and $57,436 per capita. The foreign direct investment inflow for the US is $391.1 billion. The inflation rate is 1.3%. On the corruption scale, they had a 75, which is pretty good. The economic freedom ranking was 6 out of all the countries, which is really good. And their overall score was an 8.03. The economy of the United States is one of the richest and most diverse countries in the world. The US performs very well in many measures of well-being relative to most other countries. They rank at the top in housing and income and wealth. They rank above average in health status, jobs and earnings, education and skills, personal security, subjective well-being, environmental quality, and civic engagement. And they actually rank below average in work-life balance and social connections. In terms of health, life expectancy at birth in the United States is almost 79 years. Russia has a population of 143.4 million people. Approximately 13.3% of people are below the poverty line, and they have an unemployment rate of 5.7%. The GDP in Russia is $3.8 trillion, and they actually have a deficit of 3.7%. They have a 0.5% 5-year compounding annual growth and a $26,490 per capita. Their foreign direct investment inflow is $37.3 billion. They have a 7% inflation rate. They scored a 29 on the corruption scale, which is not good. They scored 87th in the economic freedom ranking out of all the countries, and their overall score was a 6.83. The Russian Federation has substantial progress over the last decade in improving the quality of life of its citizens. They do rank above average in education and skills and work-life balance, but below average in the dimensions of subjective well-being, income and wealth, jobs and earnings, personal security, environmental quality, housing, civic engagement, social connections, and health status. Their life expectancy at birth in the Russian Federation is 71 years. The population for Japan is 126.9 million people. They have 16.1% of people who are below the poverty line and a 3.1% unemployment rate. Their GDP is $5.2 trillion with a 0.5% growth, a 1.2% 5-year compounding annual growth, and $41,275 per capita. Their foreign direct investment inflow is $11.4 billion. They have an inflation rate of actually a negative 0.1%, and they scored a 73 on the corruption scale, which is very similar to the US. Their economic freedom ranking was 41, which is in between Russia and the US, and they had an overall score of 7.47. Japan performs well in some measures of well-being in the Better Life Index. Japan ranks at the top in personal security. It ranks above average in income and wealth, education and skills, jobs and earnings, personal security, and environmental quality. But they are actually below average in terms of housing, civic engagement, subjective well-being, social connections, work-life balance, and health status. In terms of health, their life expectancy is 84 years. So the overall scores for each country. In this slide, we can see how each country ranks in accordance to the other countries of the world. The US came in 6th place in 2016 with an overall score of 8.03. As stated before, they have decent scores in their legal systems and property rights, sound money, freedom to trade internationally, and regulation categories. They have an average score in regards to the size of government. Both Japan and Russia have good scores in regards to their soundness of money, and they are also on the average to low end of their size of government. Japan has a good score in terms of regulation, while Russia is about average. A dollar peg is when a country maintains its currency's value at a fixed exchange rate to the US dollar. The country's central bank controls the value of its currency so that it rises and falls along with the dollar. In this graph, we're able to see how many countries are actually pegged to the US in terms of currency. The Bahamas, Barbados, Bermuda, Hong Kong, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Venezuela are all pegged to the US dollar. In this graph, we're able to see that both Russia and Japan have floating exchange rates. A floating exchange rate is when the currency price is set by the market based on supply and demand compared with other countries. This is in contrast to a fixed exchange rate, in which the government entirely determines the rate. This concludes our presentation. We would like to thank you for listening, and we would like to wish you a happy end of your semester. Thank you so much.